that slip cover will be connected to these cheek blocks. Okay, so they won't just pop out. This is a cheek block. This is a cheek block. This is the fall board.
Cheap with a P or
Cheek.
Okay.
I'm going to take the fall board and the cheek blocks out. So the cheek block is held on by a little thing coming out there that big. Okay? Cheek blocks are never like the same size. There's dowels in the bottom of them that go in holes in the bottom of the key bed. There's also a hole in the middle. That's where the screw that I took out goes in. On a Steinway, your screw is a typical flathead screw. On a Yamaha or a Kawai, it'll be a Mickey Mouse ear shaped screw that you don't need a screwdriver for. But in a Steinway, you're going to need a screwdriver.
Or quarter.
Or a quarter.
Okay? So this is the action. I'm going to pull it straight out and I'm going to put it right in my lap. Okay? It's very, very important that you don't hit a note while you pull it out. Ask me how I know. I had a job for 2 summers at the University of Michigan, and they gave me a master key so I could go in any door I wanted at the University of Michigan. And my job was to clean out the pianos. I'd pull the action, I'd vacuum them out or blow them out.
How often did you have to do that?
Every day during the summer. Yeah, there's tons of pianos at the University of Michigan. And I was pulling one lady's piano out, and I hit the key when I did it, and it busted the top hammer right off. And they had to fix it, and it was not a good day. And there is your grand piano action. This one's dusty. Okay? So, this is your key stick. You only see that much of the key, but it goes from here all the way to here. The longer your piano, the longer your key stick. The longer your key stick, the more control you have when you play your piano. So, there's your hammers. Okay? Obviously, bigger ones in the base. On a Steinway, the bottom 3, 4, 5 hammers are stamped Steinway.
Why?
I don't know, just how it's done. And the rest are not. Okay? This is called the knuckle. It's buckskin leather, covering like Felton wood. This is called the back check, and it's also made out of buckskin leather. When you play a note, it hits the string, and then this tail end of the hammer stops on the buckskin. And if you come pinch this and pull it, you can feel. Come pull it. You can feel that it was totally attached to that buckskin. That buckskin was holding it. So these are called those are called the back checks. See?
Is that what makes some pianos harder to like press their notes down than others?
No, not necessarily. I don't think so. Maybe. I mean, the back checks can be adjusted. They are just a spring or just a wire. You can go. You can put it wherever you want. But generally, you want it to be so that it will catch.
Is that
like the Steinway that's in the OAB, is that why it's harder to play the upper ones, the upper register?
No, I don't think so. I think it's more to do with like the other parts.
Okay.
If you look in this way, you can see two circles drilled out. You see them?
Mm-hmm.
There's lead weights in there. There's lead weights in these ones as well, on the sides of the keys. So they weigh them. You can get different down weights, different adjustments, or what do they call it? I'm blanking. Give me a second. I'm getting old. I can't remember things anymore. A technician will come in and they will. You have the tuner that tunes it, and the technician will regulation. You can have different regulation done to it, different distances between certain things, different amount of weight that it takes for a key to push down and lift the hammer, different velocities that will make certain parts do certain things, and they can mess with all that. Steinway might have its specs, but then you can alter it. Like Horowitz's piano is totally not the Steinway specs. They were the Horowitz's specs. When Horowitz's piano came to Fresno, they were told, you are not allowed to do anything to the action of this piano. You can tune it, but you can't mess with the regulation. Okay. If you look into the sides, you'll see that there are several red circles. There's one here. There's one down here. Those are felt holes with a pen in it. In the 1960s and 70s, Steinway experimented. Instead of using felt to line those holes, they experimented with Teflon. And Baldwin had already tried it. And Baldwin was like, we're not saying anything, suckers. Because they already knew it didn't work. So Steinway tried it, and it failed miserably. And so there's pianos out there from the 1960s and 70s that have these Teflon, I can't even think what they're called. They have Teflon instead of felt. What's the problem with Teflon?
It's really hard.
It's really hard, and it doesn't expand or contract with the weather like felt does. So you get this clicking sound, and they had to redo a bunch of pianos, and there's still pianos. There's a lady that lives across the street and down from my mom. She's got a piano that's, we call them Teffies. They have Teflon in them. Okay, if you look down this way.
No recall for pianos?
You know, I was at a church in New York, and I was kind of over the church, and nobody communicated to me that, number one, our piano was a Teffy, and number two, that they were fixing it, they were repairing it. And one day we show up, and it's like this, without the action was gone. It's like, would somebody steal a Steinway action? It's generally shaped to fit the piano that it's in, so like, what, why? Okay, so if you look down this way, you can see this big arch window, and you can see a post in the middle of the arch. That post is called the jack, and when I push the button, you can see the jack trying to move. What that jack does is that jack flings the knuckle to strike the string. Now, if you get close, you can see the jack. And as I start to let go of the key, see it right from here? As I start to let go of the key, the jack is going to escape under the knuckle. As I lift, did you see the hammer go doink? And the jack slips under so that you can have repetitive notes. They call that double escapement. So that's how that works. If I was just to start to lift, you can see the jack move back down. These copper wires are springs. The technician has a special tool and they can go doink and pull it out, and they can yank it that way or push it that way to make it more or less responsive. On the back of the key stick, you can see some red felt, but it goes from that key and it stops to right there. Why does it stop right there?
Because the higher notes are harder to hear, so they don't want them to, the sound to stop as much.
You're on the right track. If you look in our piano, you'll also notice what else stops right about here.
Oh,
The dampers. The dampers stop right there. And that's where the red felt stops. Edison, are you feeling strong today?
What are the dampers?
I'll show you. Can you help me? We're going to put this right there on the bench. Okay, good. Now, the dampers are these black things. If you look in right from here,
Okay.
you see them moving?
Mm-hmm.
When you play a key, the back end of the key stick lifts up this lever, which the damper is tied into. So the lever on the back of the key stick lifts this lever, which then pulls the damper off the string so that the string can ring. And then when I let go of the key, it drops the lever, and then the string is muted. Does that make sense? So the reason why there's no red felt on the back of these is because there's no dampers from here on up. Does that make sense?
So that's because those strings stop vibrating really quickly?
It's because these strings decay so quickly,
Yeah, they don't need it.
they're gone. Yep, you're absolutely right. If you look right here, this calliope sounding thing, it's actually ours is greased, which is interesting, is a spring, and that's for the soft pedal. If you look on this side of the key bed frame, you'll see a little piece of leather there. Right there. So what happens is when you press the soft pedal on the far left, this lever goes back and forth. That lever actually connects in right here. I'll show it again from the bottom side so you can see it. But it shifts this whole thing this way against that metal spring. And it's actually not there, it's right here and here. This covers the screw. So it shifts it this way, and the tension's built up against that spring, and then when you let go of the soft pedal, that spring flings it back. So that lever is connected to the far left pedal, the una quarter, shoves the whole thing in this little notch up against that spring, that metal spring, and then when you let go, the spring flings the whole thing back that way. If you notice in the key bed, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 circles. On the bottom of the key bed, there's metal buttons, and they may or may not have graphite on them or some kind of powder to help that shifting go back and forth. You can see when the button's gone, when the action's been pulled out.
And what does that pedal do?
Good question. So that pedal shifts the whole action over, and if you look from here up, from here on up, the hammer plays 3 strings, and you can kind of see the 3 grooves, 1, 2, 3, in the hammerhead, and it plays 3. From here to here, these keys only hit 2 strings. You can see the 2 grooves in the hammer. And from here to the bottom, they only hit 1 string. So when this shifts over, the keys that normally hit 3 strings only hit 2. And the keys that normally hit 2 only hit 1. And the ones that hit 1 still only hit 1, but on the side of the hammer. So it doesn't get a real solid strike. It's only getting the side fluff.
That's the dampener?
That's the unicorda, the soft pedal on the far left. Yeah.
What does that do to the sound?
It makes it more, can you put that letter on? It makes it more fuzzy.
This is great YouTube content right here.
I know, you gotta send it to me.
I will send it to you. And you can Scribes cut, and then we can edit it, and then like make it.
Hold that. No, I still wanna sit on it. So listen to how,
Right there.
listen to how fuzzy it sounds. Now here's without it. It's much more clear when I let all the strings play. But when I put the unicorda on, it's a softer, fuzzier, more distant sound. Like
What's
it's one string.
the center?
Isn't that cool?
What does the center pedal do?
The center pedal, I'm glad you asked.
Oh, that's
is
the
called
fun one.
The sostenuto pedal.
Sostenuto.
Sostenuto. Let's see what happens when I press the sostenuto pedal. Ah,
Sustain.
this dowel comes up right here. That's all that happens. That's not true. It's just a placebo pedal, just make you look cool. This is called a monkey. And on some manufacturers, the monkey looks like a monkey. They're different shaped on different manufacturers. So that dowel, it keeps poking up, pokes our monkey up. And you'll notice what happens.
It lifts the dampeners?
It turns this gold rod, and this gold rod, and this gold rod. It turns it that many degrees. How many degrees is that? 45? Now you'll notice that there's a little blade. Is it 90?
That's 90, yeah.
We'll go with 90. I'm a music major. About 90 degrees. But you see that there's a blade that goes those 90 degrees. Now what those blades do is they catch, if you look in here, there's a little row of red felt. When you push the pedal, the dowel comes up, it engages the monkey, and the blade turns 45 degrees, and this tab catches it. That blade catches this tab, and it won't let that damper down until you let go of the sostenuto pedal, the blade unengages, and the damper's free to fall. So what that means is you can have these bass sounds, and they can continue to ring, and I can put other sounds on top of them and change them and still have those bass sounds sounding.
What's the difference between the right pedal then, again?
The right pedal, when you push the right pedal, it makes this dowel pop up.
When all the dampeners.
And this dowel takes this tray and it lists all the dampeners. Not just specific ones, but all of them at the same time.
I don't see what the difference is.
Okay, well, let me try to explain it again. I probably didn't do a very good job explaining it. When I press certain notes on the keys, that causes certain levers here to be lifted. Okay?
Okay.
When I press the middle pedal, the dowel activates the monkey, which turns the blade 45 degrees. 90 degrees. 90 degrees. that blade will then catch these tabs of the notes that I've already played. So it's very important that I play the notes first, then press the sostenuto pedal, which engages the blade and catches the tab. Then whatever note that I have trapped will continue to ring until I let go of the pedal and then the dampers fall. So the middle pedal will engage certain notes that have already been played and cause that their strings continue to ring because the dampers are trapped. The damper is above the blade and can't get back down. Make sense?
Yeah, but that sounds exactly like the right one, just a different.
But the right one, it's all or nothing. It's all dampers or no dampers.
I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
The middle one is only the ones that you want, so you get to pick.
So I have to play the notes first. So I'm gonna
It's
play
customizable.
C sharps. Then I'm going to push the pedal. That then engages the blade. And those two dampers can't fall because the blade is stopping the tab from falling.
Yeah,
And he can play staccato now.
And then I can put stuff on top of it. I can restrike it because it was decaying and dying.
All the other ones are
You can play like staccato too, right? Like completely staccato on top. While the bottom's going.
Continue to ring.
Can you play it with the sustain pedal on so we can compare what it's when nothing's
So that they're all being
All
held
the
out.
dampers are up, so all the strings are vibrating,
Yeah.
and it's
So-
a big muddy brown muddy mess.
So is the middle one only for like the lower notes?
It's only from here down because that's where the sostenuto blades are. Yeah. And it allows me to change the harmonies on top. While having this pedal point. It's kind of like turning it into an organ almost. At the same time, letting me change my harmony. Make better sense?
It makes better sense, but I don't understand since the whole thing,
Yeah.
why when you start playing these, it also doesn't hold the notes.
It once you press it, whatever dampers you have up, it will catch. So it's totally
Oh,
it's
okay.
totally about execution timing.
So you hit the notes, press the pedal, release, and then you can play.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I press the notes, I press the pedal, I can now let go with my hand because the blade's already engaged and caught track
Yeah,
of.
and so the next notes won't get caught by that.
Correct. But I can engage my sustain pedal, my damper pedal. And let them ring. But I can also change that and still have my low note sounding.
As far as music, the history of the piano, is that a newer function?
Yeah.
And also, how would that be like on our piano music if the composer wanted us to use that?
Usually they'll say SOS
Okay.
Help.
or SOST.
Help!
Yeah.
So when was that like? Are we gonna find that in like romantic?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the origination date. I should, but I don't.
The middle pedal is the newer one?
That's so new, yeah. Like Debussy, we have all these piano rolls. They record Debussy on a player piano. Same with Rachmaninoff. But a lot of them didn't have the sostenuto pedal. So we're not sure when did Debussy really use sostenuto or not, or did he ever? There's somebody out there that knows that answer, but it's not me. Cool. What else can I tell you? You'll see black. That's graphite. That's to help things shift, like a lubrication. So when the unicorn is used,
Did they used to use lead or did they always use graphite?
I don't know. Sometimes I've seen white powder. I'd like to think that
Would
that's
you have
not
to
drugs.
redo, like, if they used white powder, would they have to like put it in after a certain amount of
Probably.
days?
What type of like felts is this? Like a wool felt, synthetic? And
That's
also
a
what
great
type of
question.
wood?
What was the second part?
And also like what type of wood? Because you said there was deer hide.
Yeah, usually this is hard rock maple, I think. Some kind
Is
of
it
maple.
because it just looks nice or?
It's a hardwood.
And
I do know that the majority of the workers in Steinway that work on the felt are women. But I also know during the war, the women had to do everything. And there's a really cool lady named Sally Kowaleski, she was the institutional sales director for Steinway. And she's written some cool articles and has some fun pictures that show that kind of stuff. Also during the war, the Steinway made these GI pianos. They're like army green. They're little uprights, and they drop them out of planes with parachutes in a crate to help the morale of the troops. So you can see some of these at some museums.
going to just stop it. They dropped them out of the
Right.
That's how we got
Wiley
A flat B.
Wiley Coyote.
Right.
But if they go down the mine shaft, then we have A flat minor.
Especially if they're underage.
That's interesting too. Like I was like, oh, that's there so we don't get harmonics. That I felt right there to dampen it. Because if this weren't there, the vibrations could make this vibrate.
Synthetic vibrate, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sympathetic.
Now you'll notice,
And also right there too.
so there's felt on the end of the string. So typically the sounding range of the string should be that peg to this. I forget what they're called. No, it's the metal part.
Oh.
These are called agraphs, I believe. So your sounding portion of the string should be from there to the peg down there. This is the soundboard, and it goes
So this is like a gigantic guitar. They just
Yeah.
turn it just like this, like a guitar.
right. And you'll notice that there are 3 pegs for every note.
With 3 strings.
3 strings until you get here. Then you get 2.
But here there's only one.
And there,
And
there's
it's-
only 1.
And it's a continual string. It's not that it's 1 string, 2 string, 3 strings. It wraps around.
Right. So you can break a string, and it can affect 2 notes.
Right.
Oh,
It's just
well,
it's just
that's
constant.
That's why these grooves over here had 1 because
Mhm.
it's 1 string.
You got
Here
it.
there's 2 because there's 2
You got
strings. Here there's 3 because there's 3 strings.
Yep.
Duh.
So when Garrick Olson broke the string the other night,
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but it could have affected 2 notes or 1 note.
It didn't.
It did.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he'd shake his head. It's like.
So this is your soundboard. Now, this is kind of important. If the soundboard's like the speaker diaphragm, right? It projects everything. So if you get a crack, that's like blowing the speaker in your car, right? It's time to get new speakers. If you get a crack or something wrong happened with your soundboard, guess what has to happen?
You buy a new piano.
Yeah.
All your strings have to come out. Your cast iron frame has to come out so they can put a new soundboard in.
Have they?
So it's a basic rebuild of everything.
Have they like experimented with like plastic now that they can do that, or like carbon fiber?
There are some companies that have experimented with that kind of stuff. Also on the dampers, Mason and Hamlin is one of those companies. They've put composite parts in.
Wurlitzer makes a clear piano. You see it in like these fancy homes where nobody cares what the piano sounds like. They just want it for art.
Or at the NAMM show.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like acrylic.
Baldwin has one. Someone has one that looks like a boat. The bottom's just like a boat.
How does it sound?
It's made out of acrylic, you know. If you look underneath and up, right here, you're gonna see all the holes for where these pegs go in.
So underneath.
Yeah, this is called the pin block.
Remember you mentioned
Crown, is there space, or has that soundboard collapsed? If it's collapsed, you're gonna have to rebuild it anyway. So you offer significantly less money and you can pull all the strings down.
Wait, I'm confused. Where did we get to the crown? Sort of.
So the soundboard should have a crown on the bottom of the soundboard should be crowned.
Okay.
Should have a crown.
Bows.
Yeah.
Same thing?
Yeah.
somebody was wanting to sell a piano and I was looking at it, looking into it and
Okay, so
when you're say like you're playing one of these notes and it has 3 strings,
right.
To make the sound, are all 3 strings like exactly the same length and they're making exactly the same sound, or to make the sound, is it a combination of those 3 strings doing different things?
So this is getting lifted. The damper's getting lifted off, and a hammer is striking all 3 of these
Yeah,
at the same time.
that wasn't my question.
What's your question?
My question
If they're
is,
slightly
are
out of
all
tune.
3 strings identical, so the sound is the same from every string?
If it's in
or
tune.
is the sound that's coming out a combination of the 3 strings that are a little bit different? And they
If
make
they're
the
off by
sound?
like a few cents or
if it's
something.
off,
Yes to both.
it's gonna if
Can't
it's
be both.
off. Think of a honky tonk piano. A honky tonk piano, the sound of like a honky tonk piano, that's when they're slightly out.
All 3 strings are sounding at the
Yes.
same time.
Right.
If they're the same length, they will be in the same. They'll be in tune. They'll be the same pitch.
Which is why you have tuners to make sure that.
Yeah.
So what happens when a tuner comes is he puts in a mute here, and he puts in a mute here, essentially muting the left and the right string. And he goes and he tunes all the middle strings for all the notes from here on up. So he gets all the middle ones in tune. And then he puts a mute here, and he tunes the left one to the middle one so that they match. And he does that for all the left ones. And then he puts the mute here, and he tunes the right one to the middle one so that they match. And then he does that for all of them, so all 3 strings should then match.
Oh, okay, so that was my question.
Yeah.
Are all 3 strings actually playing the same sound?
Hopefully.
And that's what they should
If
be.
you've got a good tuner and you haven't hit the piano string too
Why
hard.
do they use multiple strings instead of just one? Just sound?
Yeah, the volume, I would say.
Richer sound.
More harmonics too, probably.
Also, there are people that have strung. I've heard it. It sounds really weird. They use heart strings. So you string your piano. It sounds really weird.
Actually, I gotta look that up now.
There's a funny video where they're pranking
Yeah.
the tuner.
Yeah.
They put all guitar strings.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. And he did it with a
hammers.
fishing line.
The same guy probably he took out all the hammers and he
put
put in
real hammers.
actual hammers.
Yeah.
He asked pianists to come and play like a couple pieces.
If this ends up on YouTube, this is a free YouTuber shout out right here. We'll look him up.
There's a
He
cell
didn't
phone.
put his name.
There's a cell
Okay,
phone
go look him up,
commercial That's written on the iPhone, where they take all the strings out and they make all the strings the same length, so they're all the same note.
Oh,
And then they play Beethoven Moonlight Sonata, the 3rd movement.
Well, it's all one note.
But it's all one note. And it's like, why would you want to be all the same? They're just kind of making fun about everybody's got iPhones. Why do we all want to be the same?
I think the same guy also tuned everything to E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. That's right.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the video.
I know
The
there's
thumbnail.
piano pieces where, like, we're doing in music history where they add nails and stuff to it.
Yeah.
Does that like totally ruin the piano? Like they have to restring it after they do a concert like that?
Not like John
Careful.
Cage. Not
Piano technicians hate it when you do prepared piano. The other thing that's really hard when you do a prepared piano piece is you have to leave your piano prepared to practice it. So you can't practice your Mozart or your Bach or anything else. You have to dedicate one piano to that one piece. So that's why universities hate it, because it's like one piano has to be the practice room where all the prepared piano stuff, and it has to be the same prepared piano piece. So it takes one piano totally out of commission for however long you leave it prepared. They also don't like you touching the strings because the oils from your fingers can affect that. And the worst thing you can do is go across the dampers. Because if you look in, the dampers are one wire screwed into this block. So if you go, you've just unaligned all your dampers. They call it hanging the dampers. Piano technicians have a piece of cardboard that, what's it called? Corrugated cardboard that have holes that the damper wires go into, and they carry them around, and then they have to slide it in and slide it into that hole and screw it in. So you don't want to mess that one wire up, because then it's going to mess what's not getting dampened. You might play a string and only two of the notes or one of the notes gets dampened, and this stray note continues to ring, and it's like, no!
So is there a good way
So,
for
what do you
people that can actually do
Oh, yeah.
this
Oh,
and
yeah.
really bring your piano up to
Oh, yeah.
its best place?
And there's a shortage of them. If you want to make money, go to school at the North Bennett Street School in Boston and learn how to be a piano technician, because there's no piano technicians. And there's no piano technician schools anymore. They've all kind of shut their doors. It used to be University of Ontario, Florida State. A bunch of these schools have programs, and they don't have programs anymore. They might have classes still, but it's a dying breed.
What do you think was wrong with that pedal at the place we played at?
The window.
Oh, it could have been a couple things. It could have been out of adjustment so that it's not bouncing back enough, or it could have been the distance that the travel. Somebody could have gone, and so the dampers don't line up properly and they don't mute properly. It could have been a bunch of things, I don't know. So these pegs go into what is called the boy, blanking here today.
Yes.
What's it called?
Pegboard?
No,
Pegboard.
I was gonna say pin cushion, but that's not right.
pin block.
Pin block. There we go.
Tuning pins go into the pin block, which is a piece of solid wood underneath. So the hole is yay big. After so much tuning, the hole gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it can't hold tight that tuning pin anymore. So what you can do is you can put a bigger tuning pin in, but you can only do that like 3 more times, and then your hole is too big in the frame, and the hole is too big in the pin block, and you have to get a new pin block, which is a total rebuild.
So that's the problem with older pianos.
Yeah, the pins are worn and bore too big of a hole, and they don't hold their tuning anymore. So you can try for a little while, get bigger pins. But you can only do that so many times before you have to get a new pin block, which is a total rebuild.
What happens first, cracked soundboard or new pins?
Depends on the weather
Yeah.
conditions.
So many things. Is the house well maintained? Like, is the HVAC system maintained? What environment are we in? Where are we? The East Coast weather is different from our weather, different from weather in Asia. There's this thing called gray market pianos. There's all these pianos in Asia that you can get for cheap, bring them to the United States, sell them for more, but they came from Asia, and the woods and the treatment of the woods and the materials are for Asia's climate, not our climate. So it can be a problem when you get put in a different climate, your piano is exposed to different weather than it was originally intended. All of a sudden you have a cracked soundboard or cracked finish, or you've got problems. Or you can't get replacement parts because it's not for your market.
What about refelting the hammers?
Yeah.
There was a piano that I was looking at too that it was free, but the hammers, like, it sounded like all of them needed to be refelted.
Yeah, if you see the side of the hammers here, you'll also see purple felt right up against the wood. Now, these hammers could probably use a good sanding. They take strips of sandpaper and they go, and they'll sand out those grooves. But eventually, you keep doing that, you need a new set of hammers. So you don't refelt them, you just get new hammers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why would you send them?
To get rid of the grooves. Because the more grooves, the squishier the sound's going to be. instead of just hitting it, you hit where there's a groove where it doesn't pack the punch and give you the sound that you want.
So for the new piano we have, would you you'd suggested or a way to make it the sound softer or louder in the right hand? You'd said poke it, but why don't you just I wouldn't say cut, but cut grooves?
Yeah, well, that's what breaking the piano in naturally should do. It should look like this and get the grooves, but it hasn't been played. The more and more we play it, the more and more those grooves will develop, the softer the sound will be. Now, if that doesn't happen, you can do what I call needling the piano. They have a tool with 3 needles, and they prick the felt, basically punch holes, and it kind of fluffs up the felt, but that'll give it a softer sound.
Not quite as natural.
Yeah, and you have to keep redoing it. It doesn't last very long. So that's if your sound is too bright. If your sound is too soft and you want a brighter action, what they do is they have a bottle with a needle on it, and they call it juicing the hammers. And they put lacquer into the bottle and they squeeze it, and into that little drop shape on the very top bit of the hammer, they'll put in lacquer. And when it hardens, it's like wearing a pair of brass knuckles and punching somebody.
Are they
It packs a
hollow? Because it doesn't look like it on the
Or
side
what hollow?
of the hammers.
No, it's just felt.
It's like if you put nail polish on it.
Yeah. They'll harden up the tip.
Mm.
So your hammer looks like this. They want to get this bit. They call it impregnating the felt. They squeeze the lacquer in so that the lacquer will harden this part. And it'll punch that string harder. Yep.
Do they do it for all the hammers or just specific sections of it?
It depends. They'll do it for whatever you want. So if one section's dead but the other's not, they would just do it for that one section. Try bringing it up. Yeah. But the problem with the lacquer is once you do it, you can't undo it. Undoing it means getting a new hammer. Yeah. Did you learn something today? This is called the stack. It can be separated from the key bed. There's a screw there, and 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 there. So you can pull this part off, take it and go work on it, and then take it back.
There's a field here, and it's actually doing something. When you go down, if you don't go all the way down, then when you go down, it does something else.
Yeah.
So you go down to here and it's come up, but then this section comes up.
Do it again.
Well, now it doesn't. Now it's not.
Okay. So it has to do
feel
with the
that.
hammer and the knuckle, the jack and the knuckle.
Oh, yeah, because there's a little bump on it. So that's stopping that momentarily.
Right.
And you push a little harder. So what does that do to your music?
Well, so what happens is this jack, you can see it move.
Yeah.
It throws the knuckle, which then hits the string.
So if you went down only part way, you wouldn't actually make any sound.
Right. I bet
Yes.
you could do that on that piano right now. Only play it part way, don't let it sound. You did it. So you're not engaging it enough to throw the knuckle.
But if you just do it that way, it still doesn't make any sound.
Right.
Because there's not enough force.
Okay.
There's not enough velocity to throw
it
the.
springs it up there.
Yeah.
Bounces it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that when this hits it,
Mm-hmm.
there's no real connection to this. It's already let go. It's sprung up there above it, as opposed to just if you hit it and then you went up there. So this is going to hit it up there and bounce back down.
Right. And so the end of the hammer, the tail, catches on this buckskin. Now pull that off. You feel it? Let me do it again. Pull that one off.
It's resistance.
You feel the resistance?
There is, yeah.
Yeah. So it's caught
Yeah.
until you let go of the
Let
string.
it go, then it drops down.
Yeah.
But it didn't get caught until after it hit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
So they have that, and it's called escapement or double escapement, so that you can play multiple notes.
Okay. Real fast.
Yeah.
Like
But what has to
like
happen?
some of these geniuses here.
Right. But that jack has to slip back under the nut so it can fling it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
How often does the buckskin have to be replaced?
Yeah, when I worked at the University of Michigan, those 2 summers, that's one thing that they have to check. Is it'll tear. It'll tear. And some of the tails of the hammers, you don't see it here, but a lot of them will have a cross grid pattern to make it more apt to stick. So yeah, it'll tear. But
So when you hit the string, the buckskin. So when you hit it and it comes back down, is this still touching the string?
no,
Okay.
no, it couldn't. If it did, it would sound like a clavichord. When the tangent hits the string, it will kill the string from ringing. It has to bounce off and then get caught on the buckskin. There's separation there so that it can continue to ring while your damper's off. And then once your damper hits back down, it kills the string. So, yeah. Good. Other questions? The very first thing when you...
Is the wood they use in the, like, I forget what's
The
called.
key bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used throughout the whole piano, so it's the same type, or is there different wood?
There's different kinds of woods, and I don't know them all, but I know that the soundboards are usually made out of Sitka spruce from Alaska, and I know that a lot of these are maple, and usually this is maple, but you can get all kinds of crazy, fancy custom woods. When I went on the Steinway tour, the first thing, you gotta go in the morning, because if you go late, you're gonna miss the coolest part. So the first thing they do every day is they make the rim. I can show you some pictures and some videos. They have a mold for every type of piano. So this is a Model B, 7 feet. The one in the OAB is a D, it's 9 feet. Then they have like an A, which is like 6 foot something, and then they have an M, which is shorter, and an S, which is like 4 feet. And all these different sizes. But they have pieces of wood, and they glue them. They put glue all over them, and they stack them on their side. And then like 5 guys put them on their shoulder and get glue all over them. And they go over to the mold, and the mold, they wrap the rim around this mold. They start here, and they put a clamp on, and they tighten it here, because this is the most vulnerable part that can break. So they start there with the clamp, and then they just work their way. So they clamp it. That's actually the second thing that they do. The first thing they do every morning is they take yesterday's rim off. They undo all the clamps very first, take yesterday's rim off, and then it goes and dries for a year in a room.
Why does it have to be dried that long?
It's not a year, but it takes a year to make a whole piano.
Oh.
It's not a year. It takes a year to make a piano from start to finish. So whatever rim they put in the mold this morning, it'll be done in a year from now. It'll look like this.
That's weird.
Yeah. So they have a drawing room. I have pictures of me with a rim over me. And then they have an exotic woods room. I'm not sure if you can see. Yeah, you can see. If you come down and look up, you'll see a really bunch of thin layers of wood. And you could see one that's darker to, it's like a reference, I think.
So there's, like, I don't know, 10 rims glued
Yeah,
together for it? Is
yeah.
that why it takes so long?
No, it's just how it is. I don't think it has anything to do with length.
No, long to make a piano.
There's just so much stuff. There's so many stations. There's one guy, he's called the belly man. And all he does is he works on his belly and he carves, he shaves off these angles. He's got a chisel.
Where the strings go?
You see how this is cut, and then this is cut, and then this is cut, and then this is cut.
Oh, so, okay. So it angles the...
There's another guy, all he does is he hammers these suckers in. There's a big hook, and the hook slowly lowers this down. This isn't even here yet. And he puts the cast iron frame in,
Like putting an engine.
and they fit it. Yeah, totally like an engine. Yeah, and everybody has their own job.
So, when
Do they have
When
to
you
go
buy
to-
strings, then you have to buy the strings for the actual piano that you have, because depending on the length of the piano, the strings are actually going
Yeah.
to be different than.
You're absolutely right.
Of course, they're gonna be longer, but they're gonna be also, because it can be a stick,
Yep.
to make the sound right, huh?
So there's a string company called Mapes, and they're in Illinois, or Tennessee. And when you go to order a string, they have a very detailed order form, and you have to measure from here to here. You have to tell them the model of your piano and your serial number of your piano, because they know exactly what it should be for that model. They know if your measurements are on or off. Make sure they're sending you the right string. This stuff doesn't matter. It's all wired. It's all the same. These ones matter. And they want to know, how long is your copper coil from start to finish? How far is it from here to there? They're very specific on these ones. But this is just a roll of wire. You'll see in Steinway a big roll on the side. This is wire, all piano wire.
So I was wrong then, because you're saying these don't make any difference how long
No,
the string
well, it
is.
makes difference long, but it doesn't. They're all the same width.
Yeah, but then it doesn't make any difference how long they are.
Sure it does. Look how small this is.
They're only gonna be as long as the distance from here to here.
You're right. You're right.
So they're not gonna be long, because they're gonna be connected here,
Right.
so they're only gonna have that distance, doesn't
Right.
matter how long they are. So the length of the string.
But what I'm saying is your sounding length is from here to here,
Yeah,
which is different
Right.
from here to here.
yes.
So this
Yeah.
one's going to be lower.
Right, but it didn't make any difference of the string,
Right.
but these,
Absolutely.
the strings are actually, they're not. the
Thickening.
same.
Oh yeah, look how thick the bottom
Yeah,
A
I
is.
can see that some are much thicker
Yeah.
than others.
Right. So it's going to be
Right.
much lower.
Yeah.
It's also longer.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, your man Pythagoras came up with that. The distance, the length. You cut the length in half. What happens? It's an octave higher. Try it with some fishing line when you get home, or a piece of yarn or string. Take it this long. Have somebody pluck it, or pluck it with your nose, and then go halfway. It should be an octave higher.
Maybe better.
Yeah.
That's just automatic.
Yeah, and
Doesn't
then
matter-
and then if
doesn't
you
matter
go
how
in
long-
like thirds, it's a
doesn't matter how
fifth.
long- Doesn't matter how long your string is, because how long your string is will just be the tone that you get.
Yep.
And half of that is gonna be.
Octave
an
higher.
octave. It's gonna be automatically an octave. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, mathematically, wow. Well, cool.
You should all take my music history class. We go over it. And then the distance. So like, what do you remember what it was, Rita? Like a third or 2/3
Yeah.
or a fourth or a fifth.
Yeah, there's, to get the fifth, and also to get the third, it's a lot of fractions.
Yeah.
Basically, if you look at a guitar, and you see where the notes are, like the octave is halfway, the fifth is like a third or something like that, or half of a half or something like that.
All right, it looked to me like the frets, when I looked at my brothers, it looked like the frets were exactly the same distance. Each new fret was, but you're saying it's not?
Well, the higher the note, the closer it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you measured your whole entire string, and then you put your finger where the octave is supposed to be, it would be exactly the half length of that string.
So if you have an E string and you go to the next highest E, you've divided your string in half perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Probably easier to.
Well.
So the frets
But
will
what I'm
be
saying is, but the frets are the same, if the frets are the same length.
They're not.
They're not. It gets.
Starts bigger and
Well,
it
they
gets.
get small, okay, so I just didn't look close enough, I didn't know what to look at.
Can you help me put this? We're gonna rest it on right there.
Since it didn't get the opening of the piano in the video, might as well get the closing.
It's also pretty
Also,
sure
you have to
Perfect.
hit the.
if you don't press
So if I was to push a note by accident and shove it in,
Oof.
we
No
don't want
bueno.
that. Usually the serial number will be stamped, and that'll match the serial number
Hopefully.
there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Once we had some rebuild,
Somebody stole the.
some rebuild action, some work done.
It's very private information.
HIPAA law does not allow me to confirm nor deny.
I just thought of something that would be really easy to figure out for the whole measuring thing. Boom markers.
You know, when I was doing auto mechanics and I
Blue
was
watches.
training for auto mechanics, it was really a lot of fun to get done when you put things all back and you got an extra piece.
Oh no! I cannot see that.
If somebody can be like they actually
Let's line it up.
in shop class just by.
Thank you. All right, here we go.
Moment of
Now,
truth.
if you look on the side, there's a little peg sticking out,
Yeah.
and it's gonna go right in that.
I see.
There's a big funny story about Yamaha and Steinway with that. Yamaha has this little part in there that can fine tune where that peg is. And people were calling up, Steinway people were calling up and getting those parts so they could fine tune where that all went. And so now Yamaha got really mad. Did I say that right? Yamaha makes the parts. Steinway people were calling Yamaha to get that part. So now you have to give your serial number to get that part. Make sure people weren't putting them in Steinways.
What's the purpose of like those pianos other than it being gimmicky? The pianos with the extra keys, like
Extra notes?
yeah, the extra notes. Like
Yeah.
other
Because why not?
gimmicky. What's
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool though to play piano as 90 keys. It's good marketing shtick.
Maybe for like.
Okay, here's a little pointer I learned when I was in Michigan. There are threads on this on the screw. Norm Vesprini taught me this. So if I just put this in, I could potentially be starting a new track cut into my hole, which
Ruin
I don't
it.
want. So what you do is you put the screw in and you go backwards till you hear the click. Then you know you're in the right groove track for the threads. Does that make sense? So I'm going to put it in. I'm going to turn it lefty-loosey. Oh, I'm going the wrong way.
There you go.
I'm going the wrong way again. Oh, did you hear it?
I heard it.
Then you know you're in the right groove and you're not going to be cutting new groove tracks into the hole. Let's try it over here. You can do it. Listen for the little. Now I know I'm in the right groove track.
Top 10 most satisfying sounds in everyday life.
That's right. So now I'm going to use my poor man's screwdriver. Thank you, Kat.
Yeah, if you don't have a cord, you're really at a loss.
The chords aren't as useless as we thought.
what about moving pianos? I don't know if it was you or somebody else said a story once about where the legs were a little loose and they tried moving it and then like the legs, it came off. Like how careful do you have to be with moving pianos and making sure that you have everything balanced and that I missed. Oh, it's right here.
Well, it's a bolt, right? It's a bolt. So, the Horwitz piano, they would like, do not move this thing. It's about to fall over. They were very, very protective and they didn't want it to be very on its last legs.
Doc B, how do we want to conclude the video?
Thank you for watching.
Subscribe.
Sorry about all the false information that I'm sure will get corrected in the comments. Hopefully I've earned your subscription today.
Don't forget to like.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Merch coming soon.
Yes.